When people talk about prophets, they often picture a very small group of well-known names, such as Adam, Nuh, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, and finally Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon them all. For many people, that is the whole story, but Islamic tradition paints a much bigger and more global picture. It describes a world where divine guidance was never limited to one place, one culture, or one period of history. Instead, prophets were raised in many lands, among many nations and speaking many different languages. Some narrations estimate the number of prophets at 124,000, others mention 224,000. These numbers are not meant to be precise counts, but to show the scale. Guidance was not a rare event. It was continuous, widespread, and universal. The exact total does not matter as much as the principle, and the principle is this: no community in human history was left without someone to guide them. This idea appears again and again. Humanity is not punished before being warned. A message comes before accountability. Guidance comes before judgment. Even the smallest good a person does will be seen, and even the smallest wrong will be seen. But that accountability makes sense only after a messenger has reached people. If a people had never received any guidance, they would not know what God expects from them. For this reason, scholars understood that prophets must have been sent to every people at some point in time. This means prophethood was never something restricted to Arabia. Even within Arabia, the prophets whose names we know are very few compared to the vast history before Islam. Islamic tradition teaches that we know only 28 prophets by name, from Adam a.s. to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even among this small group, the prophethood of 3 is uncertain. Beyond them lie thousands of unknown figures, teachers, warners, guides, whose names were lost, whose stories were never recorded, but whose presence shaped entire civilizations. Still, some details survived, not as complete stories, but as traces scattered across geography and tradition. Ibrahim a.s. traveled across Anatolia, Syria, and Babylon at different times in his life. Lut a.s. is tied to the region around the Dead Sea, near the destroyed cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Suhaib a.s. is associated with the land of Midian. Musa a.s. is connected with Egypt, and Yahya a.s. and Zakaria a.s. are linked to the Mediterranean regions, and some Christian traditions even connect Mary and Isa a.s. to the ancient city of Ephesus in Anatolia. These are glimpses, not full maps, but they show a wider reach than many people assume. When it comes to prophets outside the Israelite tradition, however, almost everything has been lost. Their names are unknown, their birthplaces uncertain, and their stories erased by time. Many of the teachings they brought were altered, mixed with local customs, or replaced by human interpretations. This happened slowly, over generations, until the original message no longer looked like what was revealed. A clear example of this is Christianity's shift from the early teaching of God's oneness to later doctrines. Over centuries, Isa a.s. went from being a prophet of God to being called the Son of God, and Mary from being a pure servant of God to being called the Mother of God. These changes happened through councils, political influence, cultural blending, and theological reinterpretation. They made Christianity resemble earlier mythological traditions in which divine qualities were assigned to human figures. Without the Qur'an's clarification of Jesus' role and Mary's status, it would be difficult today to distinguish between original teachings and later additions. The same kind of loss could easily have happened in other parts of the world. This is why it is hard to say with certainty whether certain historical figures were prophets or not. Confucius, Buddha, and even Socrates are sometimes suggested as possible prophets. Their teachings contain moral wisdom, emphasis on virtue, and ideas about the soul that feel like echoes of earlier revelation. But there are no surviving records that allow us to confirm this. What we do see is the influence they had, which hints at something deeper behind their ideas. There are also societies far removed from major civilizations that still preserve a remarkably pure belief in one God. Some African tribes, for example, held beliefs that perfectly align with the idea of divine unity. They believed in a single God who has no partner, who does not give birth, who is not born, and who governs the world by his will. They believed this God could not be seen directly, but could be known through his works. When they prayed, they raised their hands toward the heavens, a gesture of respect and humility. Another tribe believed in a God whose word is final, whose command moves everything in nature, and whose will shapes the forest, the wind, and the animals. These ideas match the essence of monotheism found in Islam, even though these communities were geographically isolated for centuries. Their beliefs remind us of a Quranic principle: for every people, there is a messenger. When that messenger comes, the truth becomes clear, and people are not wronged. A similar pattern appeared in Native American traditions. Some of them believed in one creator who does not eat or sleep, who is not limited by time, and who governs everything from above. Many refused to make images of God, believing that nothing on earth could represent the creator. These ideas are striking because they appear among communities that had no historical contact with the major centers of monotheistic faith. Their beliefs seem like distant memories carried across generations, surviving despite the passage of time. Another question people ask is why there were no female prophets. Their overwhelming view among Sunni scholars is that prophethood was not assigned to women. There is no verse or reliable narration stating that a woman served as a prophet. This is not a question of value or rank, but of the nature of prophethood itself. Prophets had to lead communities continuously. They were responsible for teaching, judging, traveling, advising, arbitrating, and guiding without interruption. Women go through biological cycles that would make such constant responsibilities extremely difficult. If men were the ones who gave birth and went through postpartum recovery, they too would not have been prophets. This shows that prophethood is tied to the demands of the role, not the worth of the individual. Yet women played essential roles. Matters that only women could address were taught to them by the women of the prophet's household. These women preserved knowledge, refined character, and guided others in a way that complemented the work of the prophets. When all of this is put together, a wider picture emerges. Prophethood is not a series of isolated stories. It is a global pattern woven into human history. It moves across continents, cultures, and languages. It appears in villages, deserts, forests, mountains, and ancient cities. It touches every people because no people were left without guidance. Most prophets lived and died quietly, unknown to history, remembered only by the communities they served. Their names disappeared, their graves were lost, their languages faded away, but their influence survived, buried inside traditions, morals, and instincts that are still appear in cultures today. This understanding expands the way we see prophetic history. It shows that guidance was not reserved for any one race or region. It belonged to everyone. It always did. But in the end, the message remains the same. God never left humanity without direction, and every nation received the chance to know the Creator. Thank you all for watching this video.